Alright, today's topic, we are continuing our discussion on solving and graphing inequalities. In previous lessons we have graphed inequalities, simple inequalities on number lines, and we have also solved one-step inequalities. And today we're going to talk about two-step inequalities, kind of adding an extra layer to those simple one-steps. As a refresher, I still have up here on the top here that our less than and greater than symbol with no line. It means an open circle on the number line when we graph it, and then are less than, greater than, or equal to symbols, both with lines underneath them. That results in a closed line on, closed circle on our number line. So let's go ahead, let's get started with our first example. We have 2x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 24. So remember when we solve this, we solve it the same process we solve a two-step equation, where we have to do two steps. The only difference is that we have a less than greater than symbol here instead of an equal sign, but the process is still the same. We're still trying to move the numbers away from the variable, from the letter, trying to get this letter by itself, okay? And we do that, as we've been doing, by doing the opposite of what's being done. So remember, your first step when we do two-step equations, we want to move whatever is not attached to the x first. So what's not attached to the x? Well, that would be the 4, right? Our 24 is already on this side of the symbol. We don't have to worry about this. It stays where it is. So the 2x we'll get back to later. First thing we have to do is move this 4. So we look at what's being done with the 4. And the letter here, well, it's being added, right? It's 2x plus 4. So we have to do the opposite of plus 4, and that would be minus 4. So we do minus 4 here. We do the same thing to the other side, and minus 4 there. These 4's cancel out. We're going to bring down our 2x. We're going to bring down our symbol. And then we're going to go ahead and subtract 24 minus 4, and that gives us 20. Now, our last step is we have 2x is greater than or equal to 20. Remember, when you have a number and letter next to each other, and there's no symbol in between, remember this is saying we need to multiply these two, the 2 and the x. To get rid of multiplication, we do the opposite of that, which is division. So we divide by 2 here, divide by 2 here. Our 2's cancel out, our x comes down, our symbol comes down, and we do the math. 20 divided by 2 gives us 10. Okay, so that's our answer. Doing a number line, we can go ahead, we can go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And remember when you draw these number lines, you don't have to be you don't have to draw like all the numbers from like 0 to whatever. You can just pick a couple with your number in it, all right? I'm not super worried about that, all right? So, look at our symbol. It's a greater than equal to sign with a line underneath. That would be a closed circle, so we do closed circle on 10. Our letter is first, which means we follow the point of the symbol. The point is going to the right, so our arrow goes to the right. Okay, so that's our first example here. Let's go negative 11x minus 4 is greater than negative 15. Okay, so same thing. We're moving what is not attached to the letter first. We have a negative 11x, we have a negative 4, or minus 4 here, right? Our negative 15 is already by itself over here, so we keep it the way it is. Where do we move first? The negative 11 over the 4? Well, what's not attached? This 4 right here. Okay, so we look at what's being done with it. It's negative 11x minus 4, so we have to do the opposite of minus, which would be plus. So plus 4 here, plus 4 here. Okay, this cancels out. We bring down our negative 11x, bring down our greater than sign, and we're going to do negative 15 plus 4. Now remember, when we have a positive and we have a negative here, and we're combining them together, we're subtracting the numbers first, and then taking the sign of whatever the bigger number is, okay? So in this case, we have a negative, we have a positive, we subtract, so 15 minus 4 gives us 11. And because our 15 is the bigger number, it's negative, so our answer is negative, okay? Now our last step here, we have negative 11x. Negative 11x here. So we need to go ahead and divide by negative 11 on both sides. Now, here's an important rule, okay? This is a big rule, flashy, flashy, flashy. Okay, when you're dividing or multiplying by a negative number from the x, okay? So when your x is, number by the x is negative, and you have negatives on both sides, right? first, make sure you carry that negative with it. A lot of people do not carry that negative. Please carry the negative with the number, okay? When you do this, this cancels out. Your x comes down. When you divide by a negative, your symbol in the middle flips to the opposite way, okay? This is something I forgot to cover in the previous video, but this is something that's very important. When you have a negative number and you're dividing by it or multiplying, you need to flip this symbol in the middle, okay? Now when we do this, we divide negative 11. Divide by negative 11, that gives us 1, okay? Number line, let's go negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. We have a lesson symbol with no line, so it's an open circle on 1. Because we flipped our symbol, the point, letters first, point is to the left, arrow goes to the left. Okay. So once again, remember, divide by negative, flip the symbol to the opposite way. Okay. That goes for one-step equations as well, or any step equations, or inequalities. This example, negative 4 times 3 plus n is greater than negative 32. Okay. So there's a few options we can do with this one right here, and I've shown this in previous videos on equations, but I'll go ahead and show it here again. There are two ways to do this. I will show you both ways, and you figure out which one that you feel more comfortable with. So the first way you could do it is you could go ahead and you can distribute, because we have parentheses here. Our first step is to get rid of these parentheses, correct? So we need to go ahead and distribute this negative 4, what's on the outside, and multiply by whatever's on the inside. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do negative 4 times 3, which gives us a negative 12. And then we do negative 4 times n, which gives us a negative 4n. Bring down our symbol, and then we have negative 32. Okay. So now it looks like what it did, right? We have to go ahead and bring these over to this side. So first thing we're going to do, which one has the n, the 4, so we have to move what's not attached, which is our negative 12 here. Now what's being done? We have a minus here, but our 12 is negative, okay? So because our 12 is negative, we need to go ahead and add it to the opposite of negative, which is positive. Add 12 here, add 12 here. When we do this, we cancel this out. We bring down our negative 4n. We keep a symbol there, and then we go ahead and do negative 32 plus 12, which gives us a negative 20. Remember, we're subtracting, keeping the sign of 32. And then our last step is go ahead and divide by negative 4 on both sides. Okay, here's how that rule comes in. Divide by a negative, right? Our n comes down. Divide by negative, our symbol flips again. We divide negative 20 divided by negative 4, gives us a positive 5. Remember, two negatives divided by each other gives us a positive number. And that's our answer there. Okay. So I'll put a number line here. Let's go 1, we'll go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lesson sign, no line, open circle, on 5. Letters first, points to the left, we go to the left. So now I will go ahead, I'll leave the number line here, but I'll show you the second way to do this problem, which I consider to, which is my personal way of doing it, is this way I'm showing you now. So in the first step, instead of distributing the number into the parentheses, because this number, negative 4, is being multiplied by this whole thing, we can do the opposite multiplication. We can just go ahead and divide this whole thing by our negative 4 here, right? So we do negative 4 divided by here, divided by negative 4 here. Okay, now when we do this, this negative 4 on top goes away. They cancel out, and we're left with what's in the parentheses. We can go ahead and rewrite that without parentheses because there's nothing on the outside anymore. So we can just go ahead and get rid of the parentheses, keep what's inside here. Now look, because we divide by negative 4, the symbol, go ahead and flip it right now. Before we go any farther, flip it now, okay? We divide negative 32 divided by negative 4, and that gives us a positive 8. And then now we have 3 plus n is less than 8. Go ahead. What's being done with 3 is being added. It's positive. We need to go ahead and do the opposite and subtract this side. Cancel out. Bring down our n. Bring down our lesson. 8 minus 3 is a 5. And it matches up. Okay. So this is the way I prefer doing it. If you want to distribute because you feel more comfortable that way, that's fine. This is the way I do it. It cuts out a step. It makes it a little easier to comprehend, in my opinion. Next one, 4 is less than 1 plus x over 7. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and put my line there so you know it's a 7. Okay. So in this case, our number is first, our variable and things are after the symbol. It's okay. Don't freak out about that. We do the same process, all right, just on the other side of the symbol. All right. So in this case, our 4 is already by itself. So we're not moving the 4 here, okay? It's already by itself. If we move the 4 to this side, we'll have nothing left on this side, right? We have to move things away from the x, which is on the right side, so we need to go ahead and move it to the side here, all right? So our first step was not attached to the letter. Well, this 1 here, right? It's hanging out by itself. What's being done? It's being added. It's positive. The opposite. Minus 1 here. Minus 1 here. This cancels. We do the math. 4 minus 1 gives us a 3. We bring down our less than sign. We bring down our x over 7. Okay? Now, what we have here is a division problem, okay? Not a fraction. We went over this in the last video, right? It's a division problem. X divided by 7 is greater than 3. So how do we get rid of division? What's the opposite? We need to multiply. So we're multiplying by 7 on both sides. When we do that, these 7's here cancel out. We're left with our x. We bring down our symbol, and we do 3 times 7, which gives us 21. Okay? Number line. Let's go 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay? We find 21. It's a less than symbol with no line, so it's an open circle on 21. Our number is first this time, okay? So remember when our number is first before the letter and the symbol, okay? We do the opposite way of the point. So if it's pointing left, our number is first, we're going to go right. Okay, so remember, number first, opposite way of the symbol, points left, we go right. Let's do one more. Let's do -8 less than -8 plus r over 2. Okay. Now, once again, we have here our number is first by itself, so our letters and things are on the other side of the symbol. So we go ahead, we have to move these things over to this side. Our -8 here stays where it is. So what we have here is a big division problem, right? Not a fraction. Big division problem. So we have -8 plus r divided by 2. All right. So once again, so what is attached to the letter? This -8 or the 2? Well, you see that the -8 is on top with the r, so that's attached to it. So we need to go ahead and move the 2 from the bottom. How do we do that? Well, what's being done with the 2? It's being divided, right? What's the opposite of division? Multiplication, as we just showed in the previous problem. So we multiply both sides by 2. Okay. When we do that, these 2's cancel out. We can take this on top and bring it down. -8 plus r. We bring down our symbol. And then we can do -8 times 2, which gives us a -16. Now, I know we multiply by a negative right here, remember, right? But the number we're multiplying by on both sides is positive, right? So that's why we don't change our symbol here. We keep it the same because it's a positive 2 that we're multiplying on both sides. If it were a -2, then we could go ahead and flip it, but it's not. It's positive 2, so we keep it the same. Now, we have what we're left here. What's being done with the -8 and the r? It's being added, but our 8 is negative, which means to do the opposite of negative, which is positive here, positive here. Our r, bring this down. Our symbol stays the way it is. -16 plus 8 gives us a -8. So -8's all around. So now we can go ahead, draw a number line. Up. -10, -9, -8, -7, -6. We have a circle, no line, open circle on -8. Our number is first, which means we do the opposite way. The symbol is pointing, the symbol is pointing to the left. We do the opposite, and we go right. So remember, number first, pointing left, we go opposite, we go right. Okay? So that is solving inequalities with 2 steps.